live. There we go.
Oh.
Okay, so my name's Christine Smart. I am the chair of South Leeds Life newspaper. Linda Meikle is also on the board. We will both be co-hosting this event. This is for the candidates in the Beeston and Holbeck Ward. We've had apologies from Emily. Unfortunately, she's been taken ill at very short notice and is unable to attend. I think we will start by, I know a couple of the candidates already. If you can put a hand up if you're a candidate, and I will name you, and then you can introduce yourself, small introduction, a little bit about yourself and why you want to be voted in, and then we'll go on with the questions. Is that okay? Perfect. So I think we will start with, because he's under my square, Nigel Perry. Oh.
Nigel, do you want to unmute yourself?
Nope. There you go.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. So what do you want me to introduce myself?
Yes, if you could, and just tell us a bit about you, where you come from, what you intend doing, things like that.
My name is Nigel Perry. I'm the SDP party candidate for the Holbeck, Beeston and Holbeck Ward. I have lived in Holbeck 54 years. I have grown up here and I have schooled here, I have worked here, and I have supported the community in various events throughout the last 20 plus years. I live amongst the Holbeck residents, so I see them on a daily basis. I commute through Beeston and I see them, and I also go into Cottonley. My intention is to bring the community back together, so we want community life as in, shall we say, a better way of life, so that we can live in a more vibrant community, and we can also make sure that we are safer moving around, especially in the Holbeck area, with the situations that we have.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
Would you like to go next?
Was that me? Sorry.
Yes, Annie. Thank
you.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't hear you then. So hi, I'm Annie Maloney, and I'm standing to be your next Labour councillor for Beeston and Holbeck and Cottingley Hall. It's an absolute pleasure to have been selected as the Labour candidate for the area, and if elected, hopefully continue the hard work of your three current Labour councillors, Councillor Scopes, Councillor Armas and Councillor Gabriel. It's not long ago that I watched my mum, a single parent, grow up and struggle. Well, growing up with my mum as a single parent, struggle to pay the bills, worry about getting by, worrying what the future held for me. I've worked 0 hours, minimum wage jobs, and dealt with unfair bosses, and seen my friends and myself struggle to find affordable housing. These are all very big issues which are affecting people in our community, and it's what inspired me to want to make a change and to stand as Labour councillor, because I do think we all deserve better than the austerity that we've been put under, and by sort of the cruel national politics that do go on. And it's the local Labour council, like Leeds Labour Council, that have been saving children's services even through the hard years of the pandemic. When austerity is put on the council, they put children and vulnerable adults first, and I think it's very important that having that Labour council as a strong council with 3 Labour councillors is what will be best for Beeston, Holbeck and Cottingley Hall. I love Beeston and Holbeck. It's where my family have called home. It's where I work, and it's, I'm very proud to be part of this community. So as your Labour councillor, I will use this to this experience and this passion to commit to the community and work very hard to represent every single resident behind every single door. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there's any other residents in the room, can you give me, if there's any other candidates in the room, can you give me a wave, please? Okay, so Nat, hi Nat. So I think we'll go with Natalia first, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely fine. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear. I can hear.
Great, excellent.
Yes.
My name is Natalia Armitage and I am Conservative Party candidate for this year's local elections for Beeston and Holbeck. My background is in natural sciences combined with technology and healthcare. I started as a scientist before working in administration for Polish NHS and in adult education. I developed very strong analytical skills, which are invaluable for solving problems. I have also worked as a volunteer in local charity shop in Beeston for over 4 years, almost 4 years, for disadvantaged communities and in Africa, and at a local pharmaceutical warehouse. So my background in the local community is quite wide, I think. And these areas together with my background have made me interested in connectivity. That's the most important word I'm thinking recently, and how to empower people, how to improve their lives. And what I've noticed is that for the last 2 hard years of pandemic, loneliness, mental health issues, exclusion, and economic hardships, all of these are the root causes of problems we're experiencing in our area. What I think is very similar to my predecessors. I think that we need to reestablish broken communal ties and relationships without over-reliance on often distorted social media. I can explain it later. We have many fantastic groups here who are working locally, litter picking, family support, community hubs, food banks, and many more. We have the infrastructure, I think personally, but we need to focus more on the service because that's what I think is lacking actually. The areas I would like to work for are especially those against exclusion. So first of all, I would like to introduce to reopening youth clubs, especially for older children, creating children watch neighborhoods to take children from technology and go outside and play more, because this is how they developing healthy behavior and healthy mind. I would like to also promote very eagerly development of local ecosystems like on the Beeston Quarry. And I would like to push very hard on monitoring and surveillance of antisocial behavior. Everyone knows the problematic areas in the Holbeck and the Beeston Quarry, and that could be done with solid investments and very strong collaboration with the police. I would also like to prioritize the respectful approach and preservation of South Leeds heritage, which I think a lot of people and residents are forgetting about it, because we need to be proud for our local areas. Many people, many different backgrounds, great history. I would also aim to address parking regulations, which are regularly broken. So I can't wait to work with all different people from all different backgrounds and different parties. And thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. That was very nice. Thank you. So is that Mariana I can see there? There you are. Hi, Mariana. Could you introduce yourself, my love?
Yeah. Hi, all. My name is Mariana. I'm standing this year for the Green Party, Holbeck, Beeston, and Cottingley. I am from Moldova. I live here in Leeds more than 10 years. I'm involved in different projects and helping people around, and a few of my groups, what I'm involved is like uniform project for local our Beeston, and another one is I have one group for moms and children. Happy Global Family is the name, and another one I'm involved in Better Leeds Family, and yeah, I'm very busy, and always I am inspired to help my communities, and I think this year is my year, and this is my time to help people from our communities and to hear them voice and to work together to change this community and a good future. And that's motivates me more because I have 4 children, and that inspire me and thinking much for the future, for our generation, and how we can help, how we can improve and different projects to help our communities. And yes, I'm ready to stand and helping people and supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. That was lovely too. Okay, candidates, if you are ready, we're going to start with the questions. Now, I know that you can all see them in the chat, so it gives you a minute or 2 to prepare, which is okay, we don't mind. We're going to ask you in a random order though to answer these questions. So I think for the first one, I'm going to ask Natalia first. So Natalia, how important do you think it is to live in the community that you would like to represent? The ever controversial question.
Yes, I've noticed that this question is top 3 questions I asked for potential councillors. I think it's not only important to live in the community, but also to travel like the community. What I mean, because I usually walk everywhere, and I'm using also the public transportation. So I can't say that I know every corner, it's impossible, but I see many things and I observe many things in Beeston and in Holbeck and in Cottingley on my way to work. And it's extremely important. Without that, someone cannot know the whole background, because different days, different times, different congestions. I think it's important, very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then I'm going to ask Nigel the same question. Nigel, how important is it to live in the community you would like to represent?
I think it's totally and utterly important. If you don't live in the community you're going to represent, how are you going to know what's going on? If you don't see it from a daily basis, as in going through the areas, walking to the community, walking around the community, how do you know what their issues are? If you live away from the area, then what you're basically doing is you're asking this community to put the cross in the box for you to be in our area, which you either don't live here or you instead pass through the community. You need to be here constantly to see what's going on, to hear what's going on, to see it for yourself. After 54 years, I'm fully aware of the issues that's going on around me, and I'm fully aware in the last few weeks it has grown and grown and grown that there are issues that haven't been dealt with, and the residents are now saying, the one question that they're asking me is, where do you live? And when I say I live in Holbeck and I've lived here 54 years, I hear a bit, yahoo, hooray, we've got somebody who knows what's going on and who lives in the area and sees it daily as he passes through going to work or commuting around the area to attend various events. So it is vitally important that we have somebody representing us who knows all about us. Okay?
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Nigel. Okay, I'm going to ask Annie next. So, Annie, how important do you think it is to live in the community you want to represent?
Well, I think it definitely has its advantages, but in terms of commitment and capability to do the job itself, I think to judge that simply on a postcode isn't always the most useful. I think if you were going to have your car fixed, you might prefer to go to a mechanic that lives 20 minutes down the road than perhaps your next door neighbour offering to fix it with no qualifications in fixing cars. And that's, you know, it has been a question that's been asked to me constantly. And I think being part of the community and being there daily and committed the way full-time councillors are is vital. It doesn't mean that you go to bed every night on that street, but it means that as a full-time councillor, you are there daily, speaking to residents, working in the area, as I do, is just as strong, I think, a lot of the time. And I think in terms of commitment and capability, if you have it, then you can do the job and you can do it very well. And I think the analogy of the mechanic, I think, would speak for itself. And I have that commitment and passion and capability.
Thank you for answering that question. That was clearly inspired by yourself, and so well. Okay, Mariana, same question to you. How important do you think it is to live in the community you want to represent?
It is very important to live in your area, which one you want to represent. Why? Because it is because it is very important. So sorry, my children around here. When you live in your area, you know exactly what the area need or what the residents need to do, or you see the problem or the issue. And to live locally more than 10 years, I have a lot of conversation where I saw the frustration in people from our communities. They say, look, about the littering, for example, or look, we want to change the cycle line, where is a lot of things. And when you see the problem, it is easy to find solution to resolve, but it's important to what I can say, to want to resolve the issue in your area. That's why it's very important to live. I don't know how I can explain.
So
like
you can feel the impact yourself because you live there, and
yeah,
it also
exactly.
affects you. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I want to say, because it's important. When you live, you see the problem, the issue, and it's easy to help the residents or the people around. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Mariana. Okay, we're going to go on to question 2, and I'm just going to change the view that people can see so they can see your faces a bit better. So I'm going to put it on speaker mode, if that's okay. So when you're speaking, you're going to be really big on the screen so people will recognise your faces a bit better, because there's a lot of people in the room and you're all looking very, very small. So I'm going to just change that now. Okay, Linda obviously talked. Okay, so question 2 is, our area has a high residency of children than anywhere else in Leeds. So this person wants to know, how would you safeguard the children in our community? And I think I'm going to ask Annie first this time.
With safeguarding, it's obviously a very sort of tough and delicate subject, because there are a lot of services involved, which the council and the Labour Council have been doing a fantastic job of keeping going through the tough times. 2/3 of the Leeds City Council budget goes to children and vulnerable adults to ensure that children in our area are kept safe. And that, you know, that's the main priority, I think, of any council, especially with the Labour Council, is children being looked after and are safe. You know, sets them up for life. You know, I'm very proud to be a Labour Party member and see what Leeds City Council have done with the money that is given nationally, even when it is scrimped by the Conservative government. And then further to that, there's, you know, the youth groups and the community groups that go on that get, again, funding from the council, also sets those children up in a safe environment.
Just getting on to what they actually think
to proceed and, you know, exceed in life.
So, question: how important is it to live in a rural area?
Sorry, Annie, just give it a second. Can you all do me a favour, please, and mute your screens, because every time a noise comes, you become the big screen. So, Sam, if you could just mute your... Thank you, my love. Anyone else that isn't muted, can you do it now? Okay, perfect. Annie, carry on.
Yeah, I was getting to the end of my point anyway, but I think continuing the hard work of the 3 Labour councillors that have been working in the ward and keeping children safe is vital, and ensuring that the funding that is given to the council continues to be spent as a absolute majority on children and vulnerable adults is the way forward. And I think continuing with that is what I'd like to be a part of. So thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm going to ask Mariana next. The same question. We have a high population of children in this area, higher than any other part of Leeds. And what would you do to be safeguarding children?
The safeguarding is important for everyone. It is our responsibility to find the solution, and, for example, to improve the curriculum for the school, or to find to do the different activities, or to support and empower local school with fundraising. And I can add, we can do the different groups to help children around and the people, and found a good quality on youth works, and yeah, to ensure the safe health for everyone, and to keep a relationship, to find the right what I can say, the cooperating with different departments to help us what is best, and how we can grow, or how we can save our communities.
Yeah, thank you, Mariana. So I think I want to ask Natalia next, please.
As I mentioned before, I think that there are three important approaches. First, we need to continue what was started, because any revolution doesn't bring anything good. So revolutions are bad. Let's continue what was started. But I would like to develop what is going on in Beeston and Holbeck when it comes to their children. And as I mentioned before, I would be opting for reopening the youth clubs, especially for older children, that they've got the place, safe place, they can come, they can spend time together, they can bond, and they can create new communities. It could be in many facilities we've got around Beeston and Holbeck. It won't be very quick, it requires time. But also I was thinking about creating children watch neighborhoods. Similar to those of just neighbor watch groups, because the streets are empty and the kids are sitting at homes, isolating, spending hours on the technology, not getting healthy activities. So I was thinking this may be a utopian idea, but the neighbors from the street to streets, they can come closer to the contacts and taking care of groups of children, go to the playground, but it needs to work in the core of the communities. So just let's try to know each other better. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. And Nigel, same question to you.
All right. Having working in education, I deal a lot with safeguarding. And one of the issues that comes to light is travelling to and from school. I know that we have had issues in Holbeck regarding where a certain zone has been around the girls, and the children have felt vulnerable going to and from school. I think what we need to take into account is the fact that we have children who are playing out on our streets. In Holbeck in particular at the moment, there is quite a number of children who are roaming around. The other night, I called the police to a gentleman and a lady who were carrying on, and children witnessed it. I don't believe that they were safe because these individuals shouldn't have been there. And so I think what we need to do is we need to bring more policing back onto our streets to make our streets more safer, and for our children to be able to go out and play, as I did years ago, feeling safe. At the moment, they're not safe. Wherever you look around, there is either somebody drinking and watching them, or the children are feeling threatened by people monitoring about in the area, especially Holbeck. So I think what we need to do is we need to take the schools' attitude to this, and if there is any issues, regarding any of the children in the area, and they're showing concerns, we need to work with the council, with the schools, to sort this out. We need to make our areas far more safer for children to be able to play out on an evening, regardless of whether they go to a club or whether they just go down to the park. We need to make sure that our streets are safer for our children by using safeguarding policies that the council have.
Thank you, Nigel. Okay, that's wonderful. So I'm going to go down some questions now. If I skip your question, it doesn't mean I'm ignoring it. I might go back to it, so please don't worry. So the next question I'm going to choose is from Simeon, and they would like to know, would you help, now you don't have to declare your religious preference, by the way, but this is a question. Would you help people to know Jesus Christ and be more involved in local church activities as part of your role? So Nigel, I think we're going to stick with you. If you want to answer this first.
As I say, working in school, religion does come up quite a bit in the curriculum, and I have attended quite a few events recently in churches, and I am a Christian, but I'm not a practicing Christian, so I don't go to church. I do attend church, obviously for the wrong reasons, as in funerals and weddings in that respect, but promoting church life, then obviously if the community that we are going to represent has a big community around the church, then we should help and support and, shall we say, attend events where churches do things within the community, and also encourage people to attend them so that they can, shall we say, enjoy life and see what our friends who you do go to churches do and enjoy.
Thank you, Nigel. I think I'm going to ask Annie next.
Can you just repeat the question, sorry?
I can. I'm going to read it exactly how it's written. So it says, would you help people to know Jesus Christ more and be involved in local church activities? So that could be two questions.
Okay. I think when it comes to church groups and any religious group in the community, they are vital in our community as a whole. It's where people sort of find each other, find friendships, find, the community that they're a part of. And, carrying on to fundraise and to give funding where these groups are is important, because it's, they're the people that bring the community together and make the community what it is. The first part of the question, I went to Catholic sixth form. I can't say I'm a practicing Christian or Catholic since then, but I understand the importance of religion and how important it is in our communities, and ensuring that those groups are represented and feel heard by their local politicians. So thank you for the question.
Thank you. Natalia.
Yes, hello again. Yes, sorry. Could you read again the question? Because as you said, there are two questions, and I
there's kind of two questions. So, would you help people to know Jesus Christ more, and would you be involved in local church activities?
Good question. I'm from Eastern Europe, and most of the people coming from that part of the world are Christians. So my answer, yes. But there is the whole background for all the religions. There is the basic rules like do not harm, do not steal, and do not do unpleasant things to others. So I think that all the religions got the same core ideas, and I think there is the way to connect all the people from different backgrounds. Yes, I would support Christian values. I think that our culture and history is very tightly bonded with that, and all the holidays, all the Christmas, Easter, they are so deeply rooted. Without them, we would be much more poorer. So yes, I would support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariana?
Yeah, I really agree what Natalia said, and I would like to add our role is to support our communities and do not judge the faith. I'm Christian, but I respect everyone, and that's we need to respect all the religious, yeah, and to do not compare that is like that is like that, or believe in other gods. And yeah, our reason to our community is different one. To want to do the good things for our people, for the communities, and do not judge or do not you know, like do not respect them faith. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That was lovely.
Welcome.
Thank you. So the next question. Oh, sorry, Linda.
I got an email in that asks here, are any of you involved in any groups or community projects in the area? And does that give you an insight into what is needed in the area by being involved in those groups?
Who do you want to go first, Linda?
With Natalia, please, first.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, I'm involved in local groups. I'm working for South Leeds Church of the Nazarene charity shop in Beeston, close to Old Co-op. I'm volunteering for Beeston in Bloom and in cleaning. And I also doing some jobs in Chirwell environmental groups. So they are our neighbors, and why not to share ideas? There is always something good what could be brought to Beeston. Thank you.
Mariana, have I pronounced that right, Mariana?
Yes, I'm involved in the uniform. Sorry, my phone is. An uniform shop project. I'm involved in, I have my own group, Happy Global Families with the moms and children, and litter picking, and in our future Beeston. Yeah.
Annie?
And better Leeds families, yeah.
Sorry, I thought you'd finished then. Annie, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. I don't think any of us are involved in absolutely everything, and it'd be impossible to do that. So I'm not going to sit and say that I am. But I've had the pleasure of being out and about with the current Labour councillors, litter picking, attending Beeston Forum, and seeing the work that the current Labour councillors do. I think being in that role gives you a lot more insight than what you might have had before. So, you know, it's I think you learn a lot of the time on the job as well on what these community groups need. And if you have to go to a local council for funding, then you know, that's perfect. But if you're in a situation as a community group where you don't need to go to your council and asking for funding, then you're doing very well for yourselves. So, you know, I think we can't all be involved in everything, but seeing the work that the local councillors do, seeing how they get involved when they're asked, and when they put themselves forward is fantastic. And it's a commitment that, you know, I vow to make as a councillor, because, you know, we can't all do everything. I think working full time and at the minute, I'm not part of every community group, but I've been and seen it and witnessed it, and it's fantastic what gets done in the ward.
And Nigel, please.
All right, good evening, community groups, the Holbeck Angels, Holbeck and Bloom, Beeston Wombles, supporting families with food banks, helping homeless young guys get to and from back out of skips, back into normal life. Yeah, it's great. You should be involved in the community projects. There's no excuses. I work full time. I believe that you have time to go out there and be singing. I was in the bushes near Sweet Street the other day, litter picking, making the area look very, very nice and pretty. And yes, I did have time to do it. So yeah, if you're out there in the community and you are talking to people and you're attending many, many functions and many, many clubs, they will tell you exactly what the issues are. So yes, we need to be out there, and I can tell the rest of you, I will be out there. I will still be out there if I'm elected or not. I believe that the community and what they do is where we need to be.
Thanks, Nigel.
Yeah. Christine, do you want to pick the next one?
Yeah, are we ready? So, Sam says, first a statement, so MPs don't often live in the area they represent, but they can still get a good feel for the area if they are good MPs. Whether you live in the area or not, have you considered some priorities for change in Beeston and Holbeck, and she would like to know what they are, please. So the issues you've identified and what you think needs to change the most is the question. Okay, I'll give you 2 seconds. And we are going to start with Mariana, please.
Yeah, what I can say, it is the responsibility for the council councillor. It is to protect the green areas. One thing is, and improve mental health for the people from these communities, cleaner streets, and we can do the less traffics. We can is many things to change, and yeah, I don't know.
Perfect.
I think
your top ones are mental health, green spaces, and less traffic. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Mariana. Okay, I think I am now going to ask Nigel.
Important to me, the improvement of unsocial behaviour within the area. It's very, very important that we sort out unsocial behaviour amongst either adults mainly, especially in our parks, where we're finding at the moment there are people who are not behaving very well. So I think we need to sort those out. We need to look at litter issues. We seem to have a very, very good team, as in the Beeston Bulls, who are fantastic at doing what they're doing with litter. And I think, having seen the number of bags that they're pulling, I think we need to educate some of the residents to be more respectful of where they dump their litter. So I think we need to look at that. And mental health issues, we have quite a number of people in the community, amongst the homeless, and I found that myself in the last few weeks, who have very little support out there when it comes to mental health issues, and they need our support. And I would work along with the mental health and the homeless charities to improve life amongst our communities.
Thank you, Nigel. I think I'll go with Annie next.
In terms of priority, I think the question's really good about what it is we prioritise for residents. And having been out so far, knocking on doors and speaking to people, you know, the priorities are what the residents tell us they are. It's about making sure that we empower those voices behind every single door on every single street in the ward. So, you know, it changes from whether it's in Holbeck or whether it's Beeston or whether it's in Cottingley. You know, speaking to residents in Beeston, it's about the parking at Ellen Road. It's about fans not being responsible, urinating in the street, urinating in driveways, and ensuring that we crack down on that. In Holbeck, you know, we look at the situation on not only the evenings but during the day as well as the of the sex work that goes on in the area, and ensuring that both residents and women are safe. So, you know, that's what is a priority. It depends on who's behind that door and who's behind that issue, and what matters to every single resident in the area. You know, on a grander scale, it is about green spaces and the work that we do, and what the community does in terms of litter picking. But you know, the priorities depend on who it is behind that door.
Yeah, Just out of interest, do you have any priorities for Cottingley?
I think with Cottingley it is in terms of getting the community together. I know that there's a much lower turnout in terms of votes in Cottingley compared to other areas. So I think empowering that community in terms of local government, ensuring they do feel empowered by their local government representatives is a key focus for the area, because it's called Beeston Holbeck, but Cottingley Hall also needs that voice. And I think building that trust and building funding where it's needed in that community would be a priority.
Okay, thank you. I am a Cottingley resident, that's why I asked. So thank you. Okay, Natalia?
I think that I will go with the line with Nigel, because the social behavior is at the very background of many different problems, mental problems, isolation. And I would put also the pressure more on the services, because you see, we've got nice infrastructure. The city put a lot of money into infrastructure and building projects, and we can see the effects, and it's great. But as I said, we need to work on services, because that's the cheapest way to change in ourselves. So we need to connect more. And I think that we need really good neighborhood, because good neighborhood means good vibes for our area, and good vibes means increase investments. And it means that we are living better, because there is more jobs, more exchange, saying hello to our neighbors. So good neighborhood, that's one. But I also was thinking that maybe we should invite the residents to our meetings. Let's have some meetings from time to time, and some people can come in person. But we've got this excellent opportunity after the pandemic, because a lot of people start to use technology. So those who are afraid or don't want to come to our meetings, let's try to do that. They can join us online, and we can discuss, we can reach to more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mariana?
I can add something about Cottingley too. I have a passion for this area, and I have already some plans. I would like the activity what we do in our Beeston to move there, and I have some few ladies from that area. They attend my group, and they I want to say about one was the pandemic, and everything was closed, but we still meet in Zoom. We do the Zoom meeting, and we do the English class, we do the exercise, Zumba. And yes, my plan is to be involved in this area and to help our residents, and to coming with different events, and to encourage the local people to coming out, to meet together, to do the plans together, or to ask them what they want to do in this area. I totally I want this place, or this area, Cottingley, to be in our map. Do not forget this area, because it is a part for our Leeds and our communities. Yeah.
Thank you, Mariana.
Welcome.
I've got an email here that has affected a lot of people as this Airbnbs. There's one in particular that's on the Mafekins, and it destroys the community, the peace, the quiet, and everything else. And it seems that nothing's being done about it. What would you do? It says here, how would you ensure planning is not given for the future of these Airbnbs? And what would you do about the ones already operating? Can we start with Annie this time, please?
I'm not sure what actually is the steps forward to what happens to the ones that are already operating, but the way that they come into existence is through poor landlords. It's a matter of housing. If you have people buying houses in the area that could be affordable to families, and instead They buy them and they split them up and charge extortionate rents. It drives out people being able to afford comfortable, decent housing. And it's the same with Airbnbs. If you have an Airbnb in the area, the cost of those per week is a lot more than what rent is. So it does come down to good housing strategy. And having spoken to Acorn, the housing union and the tenants union, there is a look at the idea of landlord licensing and ensuring that we have proper checks and rigorous testing on how housing is working, because like myself, I rented for a long time as a young person, and it is extortionate. It means that people can't save. It means that trying to get on the housing ladder is near impossible because most of your wage goes towards rent. So the same issue of Airbnbs in the area, which break down the community because there can't be affordable housing for the people that need it, is the same as how landlords work in terms of renting properties in the area as well. So it is about a tough stance on landlords.
Yeah, sorry, Natalia, would you like to go next, please?
Yes, why not? Yes, Airbnb are a real problem, and I don't know how it works with the planning. It's really not my field, but I'm not saying I can't learn. Everything is for human and people. What I think would be good, as Annie said, there must be checkups on the landlords, but it can't be the checkups once per year. We need a strict time frame. We need a schedule when someone is buying the building. We need to check what is the qualification. Then we need to have a timetable, how often we are checking. And if the property was both a residential but is turned, I think the landlords should be pushed. I don't know the rules, so I can't say how, that they will turn it out. I know it's someone's property, but if that's the residential area, that should stay. So maybe that should be some rules for first-time buyers or second-time buyers or multi-buyers, but you're buying in residential area, and the building should stay in that way, and timely checkups. Thank you.
I think the thing that seems to be in the Maffekins from the South Leeds Life articles and things is that the police and that nobody seems to be proactive in shutting it down and stopping it. And I think that is what the question is sort of leading up to. Sorry. Nigel, would you like to go next, please?
My take on Airbnb seems to be a lot different to you guys. I always thought Airbnbs were rented rooms where you went in and you booked a room and you stayed in someone's house and then you paid for the stay at their property and then you moved on. I think the other thing that you're looking at, guys, is that the Airbnb is actually somebody's property, and they do get shall we say inspected, but at the same time, if there is a big issue and this property on the Maffekins is becoming a real big issue, then what we need to do is we need to make sure that there are keep a watch on the property, and that we try and avoid Airbnbs where there are mainly a lot of residential properties. If there's a few residential properties, then fair enough, you can have an Airbnb. But regards to the planning of the landlords, that's a separate entity, guys. The landlords are basically under their own jurisdictions, and that comes under a different thing altogether. So, whether it wrong or right, I always thought that Airbnbs were places where you rented out a room, you booked online, you stayed for so long, and you paid for your stay. If the person who's running the Mafekins is running it wrong, then therefore he or she needs to be dealt with correctly. And to avoid it happening in the future, we should therefore back any residents who feel vulnerable by having an Airbnb next to them and support them.
Right, Mariana?
Yes, I would like to add, I really agree what my colleague said, but I would like to say the Green Party is already supported this situation, the residents, for many years, and the last year, yeah, and it is still growing the issues, and the properties, in my opinion, when the people buy, they need to all the houses to be to have the license and to show the proofs every year for everything, and that is a big I can say for all people who live in these houses, they are really struggling and many problems. And this property can be used for not just live, but can be different kind of prostitution or to do different bad things. And that's why it's good to investigate these people who buy 2-3 houses or how many they buy. And we need to do this often to have like evidence all the properties is safe, the people who live there, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, a little bit of an easier question if we're ready. So someone would like to know what your career backgrounds are, what skills you've gained, and which of those you'll be bringing into your role. Are you going part-time or full-time counsellor if you are voted in? So I'm going to ask Natalia first, please. Career background, skills you've gained, and which ones you'll be using, and would you be a full or part-time counsellor?
Thank you for the question. My background is in natural sciences, and I also worked with technology and healthcare for Polish NHS in administration. I've also worked with patients as a paramedic. I worked with adults teaching. I worked for disadvantaged communities in Africa and in warehouses here. So yes, there is quite a lot of the background in my CV and curriculum. And what skills? Analytical. I'm really analytical to the point that sometimes even the dot on the screen looks suspicious. That's how analytical I am. I'm very methodical, and I'm always finishing what I've started. I don't feel fulfilled for personal reasons if I starting something and there is no end. No, if I'm doing something, I'm doing this full-heartedly and doing it good, right? I'm working part-time currently, but I'm also in the training, which allows me to be more flexible. Thank you.
Thank you. Nigel, same question to you, please.
I'm coming. Right, yeah. My background is in education. In the last 25 years, I've worked in schools, many schools. I started off working with children who needed support in the classrooms, and I'm now working in exams as an exams administrator. I have been involved in a lot of committees, and I have about 41 years experience being involved in caravanning organisations. So I've been on many committees. I know what goes on. I know how to deal with people. I've organised quite a numerous events, big events, 200 to 250 caravans at once over a 10-day period. Will I become a full-time councillor? Yeah, I told my colleagues, if I am elected on May the 5th, I will resign and I will become a full-time councillor. My colleagues aren't very happy because they're going to miss me, but I think having done what I've done so far, and the skills that I'm bringing, the people skills, as in listening to the community, talking to the community, working with the community, basically making, you know, the residents who've got issues, make them feel comfortable, don't judge them. As of today, when I spoke to a resident who thanked me for the kind way that I dealt with things, was basically from my background. I've listened and sat there being a very nice person, and yes, if I do get elected on May the 5th, I will become a full-time councillor. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nigel. I think we'll ask Mariana next, please.
Hi. I would like to talk about my education in my country. I'm Finnish social worker. I working in different projects. I helping people from the church or the elderly people. I working with the ladies who was trafficked, and with the single moms, with the elderly people, and we do different camping in summer, and to do the activities supporting the family needs, and that's helped me to understand the local people more, and to have experience that I think that helped me to understand more best the needs for our people. And I would like to say that all experience and at the moment what I did in my community that helped me to never give up and keep continue to be involved in different projects, and I'm interested every day to do some change or to support people from my communities.
And would you be going full-time or part-time councillor?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, if I will. Yeah, I will be full-time. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Mariana. Annie?
Welcome.
So my background is hospitality. I've worked in bars and restaurants. I'm a very proud waitress and have been since the age of 18. In between that, I began training to be a trade union lawyer. Working with people who have gone through horrific injuries and sort of industrial diseases due to their employment, and working with them to help them get a fair deal because of what they've been through, and standing up to those poor employers. However, hospitality is where I found my passion. And in terms of those skills and bringing it to being a counsellor, is that my entire passion and love and joy is making people smile and being someone that is there for people. Training in that sector meant that I heard horrific stories and was that shoulder to help get the job done and ensure positive action came from those experiences. And then in terms of hospitality, doing a really good job and being there and ensuring that whether someone's having an hour or a half an hour drink, that they have got a friendly face and that their evening is made, and they will go home and think they've had a really good evening out. So that's, I think, all those combinations have made my passion for caring about people the way it is. In terms of hours, with being a full-time counsellor, I think it would be borderline full-time. As I work in the ward, I think it's really important to still remain someone that gets their pay packet every week from their employer and knows what it's like to work in the area, be part of the community, as well as doing the job, because I think you get the full understanding of what goes on day to day, rather than, I'd never want to be a counsellor that sits in the Civic in a suit and is never in the area. And I think having that balance of working in the area, as well as being a full-time counsellor on less hours in hospitality, is what I see myself doing if elected.
Thank you.
There's iPad 9, I don't know who it is, but he's been here from the start. Would like to know, it's just a quickie, have any of you attended any of the Landlords Forum meetings? I think it's a follow-on to what everybody was saying about the Airbnbs. Could we start with Annie this time, please?
No, I haven't. When it comes to housing, my priority will always be the tenants. When it comes to housing, tenants residents deserve their voices heard. I think not more than landlords, but landlords are making a profit out of that housing situation. So I think, although I have not attended a meeting, I'd be happy to. I'm happy to speak to landlords in the area, but my focus will always be on the tenants and the residents that are paying that rent that someone is making a profit from.
Thank you. And Natalia?
Excuse me, what was the question for? Yes.
Have you ever attended any of the landlords forum meetings?
No, I haven't, but it looks like that there is a need and it is increasing. So I would eagerly do in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Mariana?
Yes, I haven't attended a meeting but there are a lot of great people in our community with the different views on that big issues. If in the future I will have the opportunity, maybe I think will be great.
Thank you.
To attend the meeting.
I will say yes and no. I'm fully aware of the landlords forum meetings because I know quite a few of the landlords that represent the properties in the Holbeck area, some in Beeston, and I am fully aware of what goes on, what they do, the walkabouts, the viewing of issues that's raised in the area. I am up to speed with what they do, and yes, I would attend because I believe that not only are the landlords failing our residents, Leeds City Council's failing our residents. And I'm sorry to say this, folks, but the state of the properties that I have seen in the last couple of weeks is disgraceful. So it's not just our landlords that need to be watched, it's Leeds City Council as well. And I will be fighting the corner of the residents if I get elected.
Thank you, Nigel. Okay, so next question is personal because I'm asking this one. So we're ready. So as a community centre manager in Cottingley, we deal with many social issues where services, council and otherwise, have let people down. How would you continue to support us to be able to do that? And I believe that the other community centres also deal with that. So the main one I'm thinking is mental health and lack of funds, things like food parcels, mental health support, things like that. So how would you support the local community centres to support the community when services have let them down? And I'm going to ask Annie that first, please.
It's a shame to hear that people do feel let down by services. But when we look at the funding of where these come from, it's a national problem. The Conservative government is attacking communities like ours with a campaign of austerity. So Leeds City Council is given a budget by the Conservative government, and Leeds City Council has to spread it as thinly where they can and prioritise where they can. And that's what they have been doing. 2/3 of the budget goes to vulnerable adults and to children, and these community centres are vital in that level of funding. So it is about prioritising, and it's the fact that we're talking about food parcels when we live in the 6th richest country in the world is again absolutely shameful. So in terms of Leeds City Council and Leeds Labour Council prioritising, if this is casework that's brought forward as your councillor, then it becomes part of the priority. It becomes part of safeguarding. If children can't eat and it's at community centres that they're receiving these food parcels, then it's a priority. If it's about vulnerable adults with mental health issues that come to community centres, again, it's a priority. So I think continuing to support the hard work of the council and ensuring that we prioritise centres where these issues come forward is how I will be supporting it, and would do as your Labour councillor.
Can I just say as well, our community centre is not a council community centre. So things like when citizens' advice is backed up, they come to us and we help them deal with it. So it's things like that.
Oh, okay. So I think like...
Sorry, I will be more specific. So my particular community centre and other community centres in the area are not council owned, but they're coping with the fallout of people being stuck in massive queues and waiting a long time for services. So how would you support us to continue to do that? Because the services are either way too backed up or don't have the space, or people are not desperate enough for them to help.
I suppose it's that sort of trickle effect. If the community centres that are run by the council are properly funded, then the extra sort of strength and, you know, legwork shouldn't be going to, you know, volunteers and people like yourself that run community centres, not from national funding, you know. So I think continue to support the funding of the council's hard work and ensuring that they are properly funded to make sure that centres like yourself aren't taking on that extra work. And it's, you know, it is shameful that the budget does have to be spread so thinly because of the national budget that's given out to Labour councils. So I think my answer is very similar, and it's just a case of you know, making sure that funding is put where it needs to.
Can I just ask if there are any council-run community centres in the area?
Does anyone have an answer for that? Does anybody know?
Sorry,
could the children's centre?
Could you repeat the question? Because there is some disruption.
Linda was asking if there are any council-run community centres or how many within the Beeston Holbeck area.
I can set the children's centre, yeah?
Children's centre, okay. Okay, so my question was, as an independent community centre then, just to make it very clear, we tend to have to deal with people who are having extreme social issues that all four of you have mentioned before: mental health, struggling to afford things, needing help sorting out the bills. We tend to take those jobs on. How would you support us to continue to do that when the queues for council services or citizens advice services are quite backlogged and very full? Yes, Mariana?
In my opinion, I think I can look for more volunteering people from locally to helping who have the training to help people around, and I can find you know, solution and funding, yeah, for to help these people. And it's not just the funding, but it's important for mental health, to help them and supporting them and give them chance for the good future, and to give them opportunity to stay positive and find different people who can for consolation and for the kids' activities, and good communities develop good work. Yeah.
Thank you. That sounds wonderful. Natalia, same question.
Yes, I think that the question which was asked later about is there any groups running currently in the area says a lot. So it shows that we don't know what is going on in our area in that subject. So I think that would be first and foremost important to prepare something like transparent netlink. What I mean, that we will know what are the similar, what is the situation in similar areas, and if the problem appears, it could be like a fast response, and we can act like that. For example, we don't have it now. We can, let's say, borrow or cooperate with another one, but again, it needs cooperation on bigger scale than only local. And in that, the situation now, when the crisis is on the rise, economical crisis on the rise, we will have more problems. So I think we need to work more tight and just prepare the information list and put people into the contact to each other to know where to call and how ask for help. Thank you.
Thank you. Nigel?
I'm under the illusion that we can use the area committee funding to provide services in the community centres like yours, Christine, which grants can be obtained from councillors, and it helps such as you and yourself to keep your wonderful services going. Surely we can look at ways of trying to get you more funding from various other agencies around that I hear about, to sort of support you and keep your centre and those wonderful services that everyone provides, which the council don't provide very much of, to help those in need. As I say, at the moment, I'm helping a young man. The services are very poor. I am having to pull on services I didn't even know existed. They are stretched. So I would look at doing and using these ways of trying to get you extra funding to keep your wonderful services going. And thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Nigel.
Can I just ask you, we don't have any youth clubs now in this area, the old type that everybody used to go to, and I know times have changed, but don't you think we need a dedicated youth centre that has strict rules? Because the youth clubs shut down because no good kids would go to them, because they ended up being run just for the antisocial kids, because the powers that be said that these children needed something to do. So all the kids that did behave didn't go anymore because it was just bedlam. Do you not think that we should have something like that in the area? Could I start with Natalia, please?
Yes, I've even mentioned that it's one of my ideas that they should be running again. But the problem of the antisocial behavior and terrifying other kids is a really big one. But you've got it if you've got huge groups and you don't have no one adult who is responsible for them. So the groups could start with a smaller number of participants or subgroups at the same time with adult who would be really dedicated and will have authority and can run it, and kids will be protected from this antisocial behavior and other things which can happen to them. So I think it's possible, we can do that, but let's start small to have the control and introduce any changes if something's working not as we want. Thank you.
And Nigel, please, your views.
Antisocial behaviour really is all around us. It happens in schools. We have it all the time. It doesn't matter what size of group you have and who's running it. What you need to do is treat the kids as kids. Let's not browbeat them. Let's look after them. Let's support them. Let's work with them. Let's make them feel part of our communities. If we're going to have these centres, which we do need, and I totally agree with you, Linda, they have gone. Even I went to the Holbeck Boys Club and played various games and events, and it was fantastic. And I witnessed the other night that up at our boys club there was an activity going on involving some of the children, which I happen to lead the community. I have a lot of respect for our younger members of our community. They have a lot of respect for me. They know that, you know, I personally work in a school, so that I don't tolerate certain things that go on, but I do respect them. They have a voice. They are there. They need something to be in the communities. It's all right saying we need this, we need that. We need to work with them to ask them, what do they want? It's all right saying, no, we need these things. What do they want? If they want a club, what do they want to do in the club? What do they want to do to keep them occupied? What will take them away from being antisocial within the community? So we need to work with these youths, and we need to try and make them understand that being out on the streets destroying the area that you're in is not the best thing. But there again, let's work together and let's try and make sure that what we put in place for them is what they need.
Well, I think if people look towards the Hunslet Club that's privately run, strict rules, and goes from strength to strength every year. Mariana, what's your views, please?
I would like to say that in our areas we have a few youth groups. They are kids club, space, establish healthy holidays, which one I'm involved to, and few of them. And my kids is going to kids club every Monday. And I think that we need to help these groups to grow and to help them, our future children, to be more developed and to grow in a good way and to develop an new knowledges and to have the good generation and to yeah.
I'm actually meaning like the teenagers, the young adults, not the little, you know, the smaller kids. But yes, I take your point there. Annie, what's your views, please?
So the current Labour councils that you have, the three of them, were working on a dedicated youth centre before COVID hit at Beeston Village Community Centre. But obviously with the pandemic, social distancing meant that, you know, obviously people can't get together. So as we've come out of that in the past year, picking back these projects up again is how we move forward. So, you know, it'd have my complete backing to pick this up.
Where is that going to be?
Beeston Village Community Centre. With Health for All.
Okay, yeah. I know what you mean, yeah. Oh, have you finished your question, Annie? Sorry.
Yeah, just saying that I'd completely back picking that up post-pandemic to get kids back together again off the streets.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'm aware we're supposed to finish in 2 minutes, so we're going to do one more question and then you can do a sign-off for us of anything else you would like to tell people. So the last question is, how do you intend to tackle the ongoing drug and prostitution problem in Holbeck and Beeston? And Annie, I think we'll stick with you first for this one.
No, that's fine. I think until you see it with your eyes, you don't quite understand the impact of the sex work situation in Holbeck. And I think, you know, like thank Chris and Tracy for inviting me to Holbeck to have a talk about it and see what does go on. But first and foremost, it is about safety and ensuring that not only residents are safe, but the women involved are safe. So working with both residents groups and service providers and the charities that are in the area is vital. You know, again, with proper funding of the police as well, because, you know, if we have only a few officers on the street and all they do is move people along, it doesn't solve the problem, it just moves it along to the next place. We've seen, you know, Leeds is well known for this problem in that it started on Call Lane, it went down Water Lane, and it's moved further and further into Holbeck and into residential areas. So it's a case of it just being moved along, and that's not solving the issue. So having that proper funding and working properly with the service providers, with the police, and with the charities in the area, along with the residents, to ensure complete safety of both residents and women is vital, and how I look at the situation.
Thank you. Nigel, I'll let you go on this one.
Right. How would I deal with it? First and foremost, stop boycotting the girls. Start treating them as though the residential area is not the new managed zone. Labour failed us when they closed the managed zone, and the words that were used by Hurley Ben was, if I close the managed zone tomorrow, what do you expect will happen? Well, it's happened. The girls have gone back into the area. The guys are roaming around. I alone, like Annie said, I fully support Chris and Tracy Spivey for their work. I have been dealing with them on numerous occasions, and I have seen things going on. I think what we need to do is we need to sit down as adults and we need to stop playing silly little games, and we need to make sure that we work together as a community, along with the police, along with these agencies. We stop providing the people like Beeson with funds for something that they are not doing. I'm sorry, folks, but this is absolutely ridiculous. I live in the area. I am sick and tired of walking through Holbeck and being approached by girls, being told the other night that we need to have sex. I'm 54-year-old. I no longer need to have sex. This is constant. This is ridiculous. We need, as a community, to look after the people that we have in Holbeck and Beeston. We need to listen to them. We don't need to tell them what we should be doing. We should be working with them, and we should be working as adults to sort out something that Holbeck did not ask for. So I'm sorry, I am totally, utterly disgusted by the way that Holbeck has been left after the managed zone was closed, following on from the pandemic. So I think we need to sit down and tackle this issue as adults. The drug issue is becoming more and more prominent because we have people on bikes going round and round and round and round the area. We have the girls who do use some guys for drugs. So I think we need to look at this. We need to sit down and we need to make sure that whatever we put in place, the residents and everybody associated with this is fully on board, and we are working together to sort this out for the people of Holbeck and Beeston. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Natalia?
Yes, I agree completely with with Annie and Nigel. The board is the most important thing, but it can't be only the wise heads sitting and discussing. Communication first. So let's invite residents, let's invite police, let's invite the social workers, let's invite people involved in all of that. But the problem is growing and growing. The first thing we need to stop that, because it will be spreading.
Sorry,
like.
Natalia, just give me 1 second. Sorry. If you're not muted, can you mute it for me, please? If anybody's not muted. Nigel, are you muted?
Just hold on a minute.
That's okay. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. Right, so carry on, Natalia. Sorry, it's some of what you said got a little bit lost, and I didn't want to be unfair and not let you hear. So
I think that's there is still something going on in the. Okay, now it's Nigel is off. Thank you, Nigel. Yes, we need to stop the influx, because it's better to stop when something is small and it's not small anymore, but still maybe manageable. So the board, and as I said, let's meet with everyone, and it's very hard because those girls very often they don't have anything else to look for. So we should ask, maybe we should take care of them through the different communities. Ask them really why and start to work on that. It won't be fast and it won't be quick, but we need to do something. So let's do the board, let's do the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariana? The issues of drugs and prostitution in Holbeck and Beeston, how do you intend to tackle those, please?
Yeah, I will return something what I make some notes. I know the problem in Holbeck and the surrounding are free of issue with the managed zone closer. And I know we can wave a magic wand and make it go away overnight. I think residents need to keep being proactive and reporting incidents to the police and safer leads. We will still need to be having a regular meeting with residents, the police and council representative to find out about the hotspots. To more police officers, CCTV can be focused in certain areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we've run a little bit over, but we want to give each candidate a chance to do a sign off and tell us something you don't feel like maybe you've got the chance to say yet, or just reiterate something you're super passionate about. So I'm going to go first with Annie, then we'll go to Natalia, then Nigel, and then back to Mariana, if that's okay.
Can I just do a quick apology to people that have asked questions and that we haven't managed to get down to?
Yes.
So, yeah, sorry, Annie, go.
Thank you. Yeah, so as I said in my introduction, it's an absolute honour to have been selected as a Labour candidate. And if elected, I, would love to carry on the hard work of the 3 Labour councillors that you currently have. There's a question I saw in the chat about navigating the political machinery, and I think it's a really good point to raise now that there's been a big issue, especially with taxi licensing. I think it's an issue that's come up with residents, especially in our ward. Your councillors, myself included as candidate, have said that we fully support the review on licensing. So even though it may not be in line with everything the council says, I'm always here to put the people that work and live in Beeston Holbeck and Cottingley first, even if it doesn't always follow the line that we should be, because the people in this area matter, and that's how I see myself as a councillor, as being not only a Labour councillor but being as the councillor for Beeston, Holbeck and Cottingley. So thank you for everyone's time tonight, and thank you for turning up. I know that Coronation Street was on at half, so good for you for turning up this instead. But yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you. Natalia?
Thank you. I'd see that anyone could be successful without cooperation. So I think that the most thing is to cooperate and even work in smaller groups to develop better projects. So I'm very strongly for cooperation. But as I mentioned before, I would like to focus on reopening youth clubs and creating children watch neighborhoods to take the children play outside, because that by itself let kids not feel alone and they can do what kids do, roaming around with supervision and in safe neighborhoods. And the antisocial behavior and the whole drugs, they need to be monitored. It needs to be very strong cooperation with police force. And there could be also investments from council and maybe even private companies who would like to join and help the area. Because as I said before, good areas means better life, better lives means only benefits, and benefits means that our life is richer on many different levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mariana, please.
Hi, I would like to say big thank you and to be a part for this meeting and hosting. And I want to say thank you for the for everyone to attend this meeting, and for what I said before. What I'm here to stand for my area and to help my local people and Cottingley, Holbeck and Beeston. And I'm so proud to be a part from the Green Party. Please vote Green Party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, candidates, for showing up and letting people know why they should vote for you. Thanks to everybody for coming and playing by the rules. We really do appreciate that. I'm going to stop the recording now. So you are all free to go and watch that Coronation Street that Annie told you missed on Catcher. Okay, so if you want to give a little wave, I'm going to stop the recording, and thank you so much. Good luck, candidate.
Emmerdale on +1, that's what it is.
Bye-bye.